So moving on to section 2 of our roundtable is open source intelligence and how this has grown, I guess, in the recent decade, very much so in the last decade compared to previous years as well. And what impact is this having on the way that conflicts are fought, not just conventional, but also unconventional conflicts like insurgencies in Afghanistan? So I'll start with you, Matt, because obviously you cover Ukraine. It's we've seen a huge amount of open source content coming out of Ukraine. What impact do you think it's actually had on the ground?
Well, OSINT, when it comes to, I think with Ukraine, the Russia-Ukraine war, one thing it's shown is that OSINT has truly come into its own as an intelligence discipline. Over the years, there's been a sort of animosity by other disciplines of intel towards OSINT. There were arguments saying that open source intelligence isn't really intelligence because it's just open source information. But you look at what sort of coverage is occurring with the Ukraine war, like Twitter feeds, for example, of showing weapon systems, locations, and people being able to geolocate those incidents. And our efforts here as well with monitoring those sources, news articles, Telegram, Facebook, getting all that breadth of information is what we've been able to do on our end here is effectively carry out current intelligence monitoring without using a single classified source. So with the Russia-Ukraine war, OSINT has really come into its own as an intelligence discipline, and its major contribution is, in my opinion, what the major contribution of open source intelligence is, that with its ability to provide a lot of answers to intelligence requirements through publicly available information, that makes the use of classified sources so much more efficient. Because those particular disciplines, very often, they're very limited, they're very costly, and they take time to set up. So when you use those particular disciplines, be it SIGINT, HUMINT, and most of all IMINT, when it comes to the budget side of things, you really do need to ensure that what you're going to collect on is, it's not that the question hasn't already been answered, and OSINT provides that very means to do so.
Yeah, I think I'd agree that we really are seeing OSINT come of age. They started really, it's only as a discipline sort of 10-ish years old in terms of the use of the internet, of social media and stuff. We saw companies like Bellingcat come about doing deep dive investigations of verifying war crimes in Syria, phone hacking, and it really shows the horsepower that there is in even the amateur community to find answers that your legacy investigative journalists aren't going to find. I do think it can be open to abuse. I think verification still remains an issue. A lot of stuff comes along on Twitter. Some of it gets recycled, some of it's maliciously used for propaganda or whatever. So there are still issues. It still needs assessing. I think there's too many people that just fire out the same old stuff. It has limitations, we've seen. It was great on the first day of the Ukrainian invasion. We could map all the advances on all of the Russian axis, just through social media and people. Everyone's got a smartphone, everyone's firing that information out there. I think on good authority that OSINT was outpacing, proper military intelligence, like for the US military. That said, it's unregulated. It doesn't have anything to lose. If you put out faulty information, your reputation suffers. Maybe your online reputation suffers. There's no actual consequences for putting out faulty OSINT analysis.
As you said, we've seen open source intelligence becoming sort of coming of age, I guess you could say, as you said, in the last 10 years. These conflicts like Syria and Yemen both found themselves being heavily, I guess you could say, televised, because they're mostly filmed on smartphones. And as you also mentioned, you saw war crimes such as the use of chemical weapons being verified and investigated through almost exclusively open source methods, and sometimes it was exclusively open source. So yeah, it's definitely it's definitely got a role. And as you said as well, it's sometimes open source is kind of hamstrung by the fact that it's got such a broad definition. So you get, so I think a lot of times open source is sometimes confused with just news. There's more to it than that. I think, and there's more to it. There's more along the verification process, and also
you have to analyze it, otherwise it's just information.
Exactly. Yeah, it has to be processed for a consumer.
For intelligence. Experts need to look at it,
Exactly,
even if those experts are amateurs.
I hope you enjoyed that video clip of our latest episode of the Roundtable. To listen to the full audio episode, please search for Intelligence Fusion via any means you listen to your podcasts.